Hello students, this is me Saurav Baroi. I am making this recording for the students of class 6 for the subject of moral science. In the previous video students we have discussed about this chapter. The name is be loyal. The value that we are going to learn in this chapter is loyalty. In the previous two videos we have discussed the chapter up to this portion, and today we are to discuss this story named The Fairy of the Lake. So as usual I'll read out the story for you, and after then we'll have a brief discussion about it. This story dates back to a period when people and cities were not found on earth. At that time each earth was a mysterious place with no names given to its objects and landforms. This place was guarded by the fairy of the lake. She was fair and generous. Each of her followers was loyal towards her up to the fullest. Some years later, some evil beings entered the earth's territory. They threatened the lake and its surrounding forests. The fairy knew the, that only the crystal stone could save them from this danger. The fairy's followers joined her on a dangerous journey across rivers, swamps, and deserts in search of the crystal stone, as this was the only thing that could save them from danger. So they started searching for the stone, and they went out of the place, where they were living. They took their journey across rivers, swamps, deserts in search of the crystal stone. The fairy warned them, the path of the journey is full of dangers and difficulties. It would be very hard to endure, that is, bear, the whole journey. We are not afraid of dangers. We'll be loyal to you till the last breath, replied everyone in the chorus. They all promised to accompany her whenever it was needed. The same day, the fairy and her 50 most loyal followers set out on their journey. As they proceeded, the voyage proved to be even more harder and more terrible than the fairy's imagination. They were met by terrifying beasts. They had to march day and night in hot deserts, hungry and thirsty. Facing the adversities, many followers lost hope and abandoned the quest. Finally, only one follower remained, and his name was Shadow. Shadow was by no means the bravest or the best fighter. He was neither very intelligent nor very strong. However, his main quality was that he was still fully loyal towards the fairy. When the fairy asked Shadow, "Why didn't you abandon journey?" Shadow replied, "I said you, I will follow you in spite of all difficulties, and that's what I am doing. I cannot turn my back because of the hard situations." Fortunately, one day the fairy managed to find the crystal stone, but unfortunately, there stood a terrible monster guarding the stone. The fairy and Shadow. For the fairy and Shadow, the monster was too big to fight. They requested the monster to give the stone, but the monster did not agree. They pleaded him, but he denied. At this, Shadow, in a final act of loyalty, offered himself in exchange for the stone. The monster accepted the offer. So, Shadow remained with the monster to spend the rest of his days serving him. With the help of the powerful magic of the crystal stone, the fairy returned to the lake and destroyed the evil beings. But every night she wept bitterly because she missed Shadow a lot. It was because of Shadow's act of self sacrifice that the fairy saved the lake from the evil beings. To show her gratitude and appreciation towards Shadow, the fairy presented every being on the earth with its own shadow during the day. But when the night comes, all these shadows travel to the lake to spend time with the sad fairy and to try to console her for her loss. So, what have we learned from this story, students? We have learned that loyalty is the pledge of truth to oneself and others. So, let's talk about the story in brief. So, the story dates back to a time when there were no people, no cities on the earth, and the entire place, that is earth, was guided by a fairy, and she had some followers. One day some evil force, evil means something monstrous like, entered that particular region and threatened that surrounding forests, and the only way to get away from this danger, or to get rid of this danger, was the crystal stone. So fairy and her follower, fairy and her followers started looking for that particular crystal stone. But the journey, the quest for the crystal stone was not easy. It was a very difficult journey, and many of the followers, although they initially pledged that they will keep following the fairy, but they abandoned the journey after looking at the difficulties that they have to face. There was only one follower who didn't abandon fairy in her journey. It was the shadow. And because of the loyalty of the shadow, fairy finally got the crystal stone. And looking at his loyalty and in a sense of gratitude and appreciation towards the shadow, that is her follower, she has gifted a shadow to every mankind or everything that is on earth during the day, and during the night these shadows travel back to the that imaginary lake to console the fairy of her loss. And the moral of this story is loyalty is the pledge of truth to oneself and others. So with this we have come to an end of this chapter and also our syllabus. In the subsequent classes, students, I'll give you the question and answers of this, and I'll ask you to revise the different chapters from the syllabus from time to time on different classes. You'll and I expect that you will be loyal towards your own homework. Okay. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed.